Our next speaker is Allison Phillips. Allison is the COO of Learning Objects. I've known Allison for probably 12 years or so, back when she was an MBA student. And entrepreneurship was not her first interest in school. She may talk a little bit about that. But she spent time after business school at McKinsey, and then Living Social, and now Learning Objects. Each time the company got a little smaller, and she has gotten more and more responsibility. She's now working in the education space, and her company has been growing like crazy. And I'll let her tell you a little bit more about it. Allison Phillips.
Thank you. How do you get to speak at this if you're not the founder? Is you have to know the professor for 15 years. That's the trick. So, and I don't even run the company anymore because we just sold the company last month to a bigger company, which I guess is your goal, but I'm still psyched to talk about education. So what's wrong with education and what's hard about solving it? Who knows tell me some things that are wrong with education. You guys have some ideas.
No one's thriving in the private sector.
No one's thriving. Okay, so it's not serving our economy. It's not cranking out people that our employers need. What else? You guys might notice. You are buying a good investment here. It costs a lot, right?
Teaching to tests and not learning.
It's not teaching. It's not efficient. It's not driving learning. Exactly.
It's hard to
Perfect.
assess.
It's hard to assess. It's hard to figure out whether you learned or not. It's like I planted these people. It's inefficient. It's not serving our economy, and it's extremely expensive, and it's impossible to tell about the outcomes. Well, there was a professor named Benjamin Bloom who figured out the answer to all this in 1984. And the answer to all of this is personalized and adaptive learning. And in 1984, the way they figured that out was by planting tutors with people. And the human tutor would personalize and adapt the learning to the speed of the learner. Obviously, that is not a scalable solution, but a lot of things have happened since 1984, such as, how many of you have been born since 1984? A good number of you, right? Yell out some technological advances that have happened since 1984. The internet, yes. What else? What do we all have in our hands?
iPhone.
The mobile, right, social, cloud computing, all of these things have happened, which means machine learning, data science, we now have a machine that doesn't entirely replace a human, but can much more scalably help guide learners through learning. And so what that means is that if you have, we have our traditional model of learning that you guys are engaged in right now, what I like to call the butts in seats over time cohort model. That's one model. It serves those of us who are privileged very well. It does not serve the rest of our economy very well. If you are, let's take for example, one of our personas is a 36-year-old with 3 kids who just got out of the military where you were a medic in Iraq and you wish to be a nurse. Your path should be shorter than a bachelor's degree nurse. You have an incoming set of expertise and an outgoing set of desired competencies and a desire to get there quickly and in your budget. So those are the problems that we're working on solving now. Why is that hard? There are a lot of, as David and Logan pointed out, there's a lot of entrenched interests in these industries. And like healthcare, education is almost a human right in this country, so people get very touchy about it. Some of the entrenched forces include accreditation. What does it say on your undergraduate transcript? What is your credit based on? When you try to transfer, you transfer what?
ABET. ABET was the accreditation board?
That's the board, yes, exactly. When you transfer from one school to another, you say, I have credit hours, right? How do you map that to a competency? It's really unclear. And that's a huge force that drives financial aid, which is a big deal to everyone in education, right? There's also the publishing industry, which has locked up markets and huge schools. And there's also just the fact that all of our content comes in books. So we have to take that content and chunk it up and tag it and put it into the computer system so that it can deliver the adaptive learning. So there's a huge, heavy lift to move our content, our education system, and our financial aid system into this new system that will drive efficient, less expensive, and serving our economy. A couple of things that are happening that are driving it faster are employers are starting to require it. I don't know if you've heard about ASU's partnership with Starbucks. So they've designed their own program that Starbucks will pay if a student can make it through their program they've designed around their competencies. The most interesting one I heard lately was that Ernst & Young in Europe has said we get rid of bachelor's degree as a requirement because we can find no reason that it matters. And we actually have a new set of competencies that are our Ernst & Young competencies, and that's what we're going to require and that's what we're going to teach to. And if you extend that into the workforce, for example, one of our students, or one of our clients has said that once they hire a bachelor's degree nurse, it costs them $60,000 per nurse to train that nurse to be a nurse who has already got a bachelor's degree in nursing that they probably also paid $60,000 for. So if we start to view the employer as the customer, we can get a lot quicker to what learning that student really needs to be prepared. Good, that's all I got.